Hey guys, my name is Adejuma Toib Akobi, and I'm going to be the one to instruct you on how to design a food poster today. So, without wasting much of our time, let's go to Photoshop. Here is Photoshop. So, we're going to create a document, and of course, this particular poster is going to be meant for Instagram. So, I'm going to use the Instagram portrait size, which is 1080 by 1350. So I'm going to write the name of the project is food poster. All right, so I'm going to leave the resolution on 300 and the color mode is RGB. No, okay. This particular project is meant to be screen, so the resolution is supposed to be 72, but I just like leaving my resolution to be 300, and that's just it. So we just click on what? Create. All right, so the first thing you do whenever you want to create a design is to, number one, set what? Set your bleed. And why are you setting your bleed? You're setting your bleed so that you are not going to be carried away should in case they are going to be printing the design, so that none of your information is going to be cut out. Are you getting it now? So you come down to view and come down to new guide layout. So you can set everything to 100 pixels away from the edges. So you click on OK and you can see your ruler there. Click on Ctrl 0 so that you fit to screen. So how do we go about this poster design? So the first thing I do is that I'll go to my Word and I'm going to type all the old details that is going to be on the poster. I'll type it there. Then coming down to Photoshop, the first thing we want to do right now is to create a background. Okay, so to create a background, you can create background color in different way. We are going to be setting this background color to be black, and you can do that by setting your foreground color to black and click on Alt. Then you click on backspace, so it's going to fill it with the color on the foreground color. But this will not give you room to be able to change this color, except you come down to this place again and change it again. But instead of doing that, why can't you just come down to adjustment layer and then click solid color, then you select black and click OK. Now this will help you to be able to change this particular color anytime you want to change it without waste of time. So can you see? And that's the essence of using the adjustment layer. But since I know that it is black that I want to use for this project, and I'm not going to recreate it anytime, so I will just off the adjustment layer and I'm going to set the foreground color to black like this. So what's the next thing I'm going to do? The next thing I want to do, that's the first thing in any project, is for you to set your background. And if you are able to set up your background, if you have a successful background, then whatever you are placing on it is going to create a better contrast. And that's why the first thing we are going to do is to create this project background. All right, so this is black now. I'll go to the project file. So I have the project file here, and I'm going to pick this particular smoke particles, and I'll drag it in. Yes, of course, you are going to have the file in the description, so you can just download it and as well practice. So this is what I have right now. Click on OK. So once I click on OK, I'll come down here and set the blend mode to screen. Why am I setting the blend mode to screen? I'm setting the blend mode to screen so that anything that is not white is going to be hidden. So because screen is the blend mode that help you to hide everything that is not 100% white and reveal everything that is 100% white. So that's why I set this to what? Screen. All right, if that should be the case, I really don't want this to really butch out, or we don't know what the project is going to look like, so let's just leave it like this, and let's bring in some other elements that we are going to be needing for this background. And let me just drag in this table into Photoshop. So I have this in Photoshop right now, so I can just scale it down to somewhere here. All right, so I don't really need this. So what am I going to do if I don't need this? I'm going to click on my marquee tool. So once you click on your marquee tool, select this. So Once you select this, you come down to your layer mask, click on Alt, then click on the layer mask, so you get rid of that particular part that you don't want. Okay, so now that we do that, I want this table because we want to create a food poster, that is burger food poster. Then what we're going to do is that we want this particular table to look like we are placing the burger on it, or the burger is flying on it. Depends on what we think is going to be appealing to common mass. This particular poster is not for high class set of people, it is for common mass, and for that reason there's need for us to play with things that is going to accommodate or attract the common mass. Are you getting where I'm coming from? All right, so if that should be the case, now the next thing we do is to go back here and pick this particular one here, then drag it into Photoshop. Now if you pick this particular one into Photoshop, this is where we want to set it. Yeah, want to set it right here. But if you observe something here, because whenever you are designing as a designer, all you want to do is to make sure that your depth is very, very important. What I say depth, what do I mean by depth? That is ability for your design to look very real. That is, if they place it to what is happening in the real life, is going to be equivalent. Now in real life, you don't expect the tabletop to be offset with the table side or the table leg. Are you getting this now? So if you look at this now, this particular plank that you have here is not as the same as what you have here. So how can we do it so that they can match and everything can just look all right? So what I'm going to do right now is to click on Ctrl T. So when I click on Ctrl T, I'm going to hold my shift because I'm using Photoshop 2020. If you are using Photoshop 2019, then you don't need to hold shift. If you are using 2020, 2018, 2021, 2022, then you need to hold shift. So drag to this side like this, and as you're dragging to this side, try set this now, set this one to match with this. So we are going to take this one in a bit so that it will also match with the second one there. Then we check every other one here if they have also matched. Of course, they are not matched yet. Okay. So we try something like this. Everything is not too much. Okay, so let's just do this. Okay. So you just try as much as you can to let everything match just like that. Right, so all right, we're getting there, so let it be as wide as possible so that this will definitely match that. Right, so if you look at it now, we are almost getting that exact value that we need. So let's just have it like this. Okay, right, click on Ctrl 0 to fit to skim back. So yeah, I think this is awesome now. So you can see now that we now have the right perspective for this particular table. All right, so if that should be the case, so what's the next thing to do? The next thing we should do is that come down to the particular one, take this one below this. Yeah, and we have you can see we have the right look now. Okay, so feel this one is still missing. Yeah, it's okay like that. So what are you going to do next? So on this now, click on Control and click on Add Layer. So when you click on Control and you click on Add Layer, it's going to create the layer below this particular layer, but we don't want it below it, so cancel it. So click on what this, and it's going to what add it above the layer. So click on this wooden texture layer and click on add. So we have the texture on it now. And why do I create this? The reason why I'm creating layer on the wood is because if you look at this particular plank now, it's too bright compared to what you have at the background. Are you getting it now? Now, what happened is that you are telling us that sun is coming from somewhere that we don't know. You see, there's nothing like ray of sun here, ray of light here. There's nothing like ray of light here. The only place where we can say there is ray of light is this particular center because of this particle. And if you look at this particle, it will only shine light directly. The light is not going to reflect on this. In short, it will even be the reason why this place is going to appear what? Dark. So there's need for us to make this particular place appear dark so that it's going to create a better contrast with the background, and then the perspective is going to be what? Accurate. So we click on our brush tool. So once you click on your brush tool, if you see this particular cross sign, it means your cap lock is on. So off your cap lock, then you have something like this. Make sure your foreground color is black, and then you can set your opacity to something around 80 because you really don't want everything to be dark. Is that it now? So this is a soft round brush. If you want to change your brush size, you can just come down to this place, then make sure the hardness is 0, then you are going to have a soft round brush. Now if you want to increase or decrease on your system or your laptop, rather, that's keyboard, you click on the left button to reduce the size of the brush and the right button to increase the size. So just brush this side like this, and just like this. Yeah, so you take this to this side a bit. I think this is too much. Yeah. I think this is just fine. So click on the wood table layer. Also on this wood table layer, create another layer on it that is another empty layer, and then we brush like this. Can you see what we have? It's too much, so that's not exactly what we are looking for. So just drag this like this. Can you see? And take this one down like this, then take this one down like this. Wow, so this is fine now. All right, so just clip mask this particular one to affect only the table. And how do you do that? You can just what? Right click and what? Create clipping mask. So it's going to clipping mask what? That to the immediate layer. And if you don't want to do that, if you want to use shortcut, you can just what? Bring your mouse in between these two layers and click on Alt, then this sign is show, and just hit OK. So it will clip mask that now. So this is awesome. Now you can see this project is getting interesting, isn't it? It's fine. All right, so what's the next thing you have to do right here? The next thing what we have to do right here is that this particular layer here is still kind of bright. It's not in a better contrast with all of this side. So this place is still looking kind of bright, and we don't know where the light is coming from. So how can we control that? We can control that by coming down to adjustment layer and click on curve, because this will allow us to be able to reduce it. Okay, you don't know how to use curve, don't worry, just follow this tutorial. I'm going to create a full project on how to use curve and some other tools in Photoshop. So just drag this down like this, and that will reduce what? The highlight and increase the shadow. So this is fine. I think we can just click on OK like this. So now that we have this, now we can now come down to this place. I think let's create some little drama on this particular layer. And how do we do that? So let's just click on what? The brush. Yeah, so we'll click on the brush, and we change the foreground color to something like fire. Yeah, so I think this is fine. Yeah, so yeah, you can increase the size of the brush and just dab once. So once you dab once there, you can increase the size. That is, you click on Ctrl T to activate the transform tool. So once you have this, you click on OK. So this is what we have right here, and I think our background is looking nice now. So let's just group everything together. So click on the very top layer and click on Shift and click on the very last layer. So it's going to select everything, then click Ctrl G, and then we can label this background. So when you open the background, you want to understand everything that you have here. So you can label this overlay. You can also label this as overlay. Okay, let me call this overlay 1. So, and you can call this one glow. Right, so you can see when you have your label when you have your layouts well labeled like this, it allows you to give your project out to somebody to edit without your presence, and they are going to do awesome job. So what's the next thing we have to do? Okay, let's go and bring in our burger. So yeah, we select this and this, so let's drag them into Photoshop. So we have this, and we have this. So let's reduce their size. Yeah, I think this is just fine. Wow. Okay, I know we are yet to see the second one. This is because the two layouts, they overlap. So let's take this one to the other side like this, and then this also to this side. Okay, let us twist this a bit so that it's not just going to be straight like that, so that to create some sense of drama. So let's just rotate this one also a bit like this. Yeah, so I think we should increase the size of the two to a point where it's going to make more sense. All right, I think it's too much. Okay, so this is fine. Yeah, we don't want it to sit on this table because it will look it is going to like say the wrong thing about this particular brand. And why? Because if you look at this table, it's not looking hygienic. I get it now, because the table is not looking hygienic, then it's not going to make sense if you place it on that table. Rather, you can just create another sense for people that are viewing the poster, to feel like, yes, you are bringing something yummy and wholesome to your table. I get this now. By placing order for this particular burger, you are calling for something yummy on your table. So that's why we are not going to place it directly on that table. If you place it directly on that table, you are not ordering. You are sending a message that this particular brand is not neat. Am I making sense now? Okay, so if that should be the case now, let's do some arrangements that makes it look better. All right, so let me increase the size of this more bit. Yeah, I think this is fine. It also increase the size of this a bit more. Yeah, I think this is awesome now. Now, in reality, it's not possible for a material that is opaque in nature to obstruct the direction of light without casting its shadow. Yeah, that is why this particular image is not looking nice right now. And why is it not looking nice? It's not looking nice because this particular image is supposed to cast a shadow, because it's obstructing a ray of light coming from this particular particle. Is that taken out? So how do we create shadow for this? It's fine. What we are going to do is that come down to this very bottom layer and click on Control and plus. So it's going to create another layer under it. Then click on Control D so that you set your foreground color to default, and then pick your brush to increase it a bit more, and just let it be 100% opacity. Then just dab under this very first one like this. So once you do that, click on this and Control T, then click on Shift to squash this down like this. So take it up a bit, squash it down like this. Yeah, and I think this is making sense now. So we have this beautiful shadow for this particular subject. Okay, let me do something as regard this. Reduce the size of this. It's coming out of the table too much. Yeah, I think this is fine now. So let us increase the size of the shadow. So we have this. Okay, so if you look at this now, this is looking like normal black. And how can we make it a bit realistic? So come down to filter and come down to blur, then Gaussian blur, then just set the radius to something around 10, or you can reduce the radius a bit. Let me put it to something around 7. Yeah, and this is just okay. So duplicate it, Ctrl J to duplicate, sorry, Ctrl J to duplicate. So this particular copy, drag it to this one here. So the shadow is getting too much there, so reduce the size of this like this. Yeah, okay. So you can see now we have been able to create shadow for this particular object. So what next are we going to do? Let's check the before and after. So before we add the shadow, you can see what happened. When we add the shadow, you can see the depth really makes sense. All right, so once we do this, we are done with the image. So let's group everything in that image together. So we call this shadow fries, shadow fries. So that you understand that that's the shadow under the fries, and this is the shadow burger. So just label your stuff like that, then click on this, then Ctrl G, then you label this subject. Yeah, so what's the next thing to do? Let's see how far we've gone. You can see this project is quite making sense. Let's increase the size a bit now. Yeah, I think this is just fine. Now, do you observe something? This particular red is not really looking nice. Let's do something like this to just make it look interesting more. So come down to filter, blur, sorry, come down to filter, sharpen, and click on sharpen so that it's a bit pop up a bit. So fine. All right. So if you have this now, what's the next thing to do? The next thing is to bring in our text. So we go to the word and we pick super, copy this, click on your text tool, then hit the table, Ctrl V. Let's change the color to white. All right, so I'm not sure if this is really looking nice. So let's change the font to something bad cat. Okay, change this to the regular. I think this is just too big. All right, so I think this is fine. So what's the next thing to do? Let's reduce the size of it a bit. Bring this to the center. So what's the next thing? What are the next statements we have there? I think that should be delicious. So copy this, click your text tool, okay, so activate the text tool. Yeah, so click on Ctrl V, and this is not looking nice at all. So let's change this to a kind of display font. Let me check ANSI rough. Okay, does this look nice? I think it's fine. Let's increase the size a bit like this. It's just too big. So we can have this here, and let's change the color to something to complement what we have here, and I think orange will just do a nice job. Okay, so I think this orange is fine. And what's the next one there? Okay, it's here. So what's the next text? Burgers. Copy this. Come down to this place. Control V. So we have burgers. So writing this with this font will not make sense. So let's choose Bascat. Remember, on your project, you should not use more than 3 colors. So let's change the color of the burger to white. Okay, so let's increase the size. I think this is just okay like this. So if I place it here, let's do some little adjustments to this. Yeah, let me make it like that so that it goes in line with this. Okay, so if that should be the case, I think we can increase the size of this burger a bit more, since that is the main target of this poster. That's what we actually want to advertise. So let's make it more bold than every other thing we have there. Yeah, so that it calls attention. So let's reduce this a bit. Okay, so take this, let's rotate it kind of. Yeah, so that we're going to have that particular dramatic look, so it's really make more sense. Okay, so super delicious burgers. What's next? Okay, we'll have other thing there, and that's yummy. So copy yummy, close this. Sorry, so try go far away from that place. Click on Ctrl V. So yummy is what having yummy in this particular font is not making sense. So let's change this to unsafe and change the color to this. Okay, all right, so click on V so that you can take this to this point here. Fine. All right, so let's rotate this. Right. Okay, so placing this down like this is not really making sense. Now let us complement this particular brush right up by creating a brush background here also. And how do we do that? You don't need to stress yourself. Just let's go back to our folder and select this brush and drag it into the what, into the project. All right, so you can now have something like this. Okay, let's increase the size just to bend. All right, so place it here. Let's have something like this. Increase the size a bit here. Yeah, okay, and I think this is just okay. So let's take this far below the burger. Yeah, and let's take yummy also below the burger. Yeah, so increase the size of the yummy and just have it here. Okay, but are you seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah, because if you look at this brush, black brush is not making a better contrast there. Instead of this yummy being orange, can't we just make the brush orange? I think that would be better. And how do we do that? Just double click on this side. Once you double click on it, you're going to have your blend options open up like this. Then click on overlay. So once you click on overlay, click on the overlay so that you can edit the color and just sample this particular color, and that's just it. Okay, so we have been able to change the brush color now. So let's change the color for yummy to black. Yeah, I think this is just fine like this. All right, so increase the size of it a bit. So I just take it up like this. And what will happen next? Let's drag burger, the font burger, let's drag it down a bit. I think it's not really giving a breathing space there. So I think, sorry. So I think this is just nice like this. So let's add shadow to that so that it's going to create some level of depth on this particular brush. So double click on this also again, then click on drop shadow. So I think this is not good enough. Let's take the shadow down. Change this angle to something. So I'm leaving the angle at 135. Let me increase the opacity. Then distance, shadow. Yeah, I think this is just awesome now. I think this is good. All right, so let me reduce the opacity a bit. So this is just fine. Okay. Okay, so we have that now, and I think we have good. We have done a good job here. So what I'm going to do next, let's copy everything here. Guys, I click on the first one, then click on shift to click on the very last one. So Ctrl G and write this as the main text. Main text. So is this balanced? Click on Ctrl A and click on this so that it will centralize it perfectly. Then Ctrl D to deselect. So let's shift it up a bit. Okay, and I think this is just good. All right, guys, if you look at this now, this is making sense. But I want to place order. Won't I call the person? Yeah, and that's the reason why we are going to have some details here. So how do we do that? Go to your text tool and it's the text tool down there. Then we'll come here and copy this. So it's always good when you have everything typed. Okay, so Ctrl V, and the font is not just okay. It's not just okay. So let's pick another font like okay. Let's see if NCF can do a good job there. No, it's not okay. Let's try a font like Camptop. Camptop. Okay. Change it to bold. Okay, let's use semi-bold or medium rather. All right, so let's change this color to orange. That's fine. Okay, so click on it and let's just take this one down like this. Then set it to okay. Sorry. So we have this. I think the leading is too small, so let's increase the leading. Okay, so that's tracking. So let's come and just pick. I think this is just right. So we have this here like this. We don't want to use more than 3 fonts, so this is fine. So what's the next thing to do? Let's pick the next one, which is the phone number and the IG. G, Control C rather, Control V to place it. All right, so we can reduce the size of this a bit. Okay. So take it down here. All right, I think we should do something here to create a better contrast. Let's reduce the size of the one below to something around 9. Change the color to white to create a contrast there. Okay, so I think we can reduce it further. I think 7 is okay. I think 8 is just good there. Yeah. Okay. So select it again so that we can just centralize. Yeah. I think what's it called? I think the leading is too much. Yeah, so this is just fine. So take it down here. Oh, okay. Let's reduce the size a bit so that it creates a good balance, right? So what's the next thing? When you place order, you come in. So let's just click on the last one, which is order now. Control C, then click on Control C again, Control V. So let's change the color to orange. Okay, that's just fine. Let's increase the size a bit so that it's going to be visible. Then click this down because the leading is too much. Just click on this and click this to 9. Click this to 9. All right, so let's make everything to be left alignment. So this is just too much. Okay, let me put exclamation mark here. So I think that will make sense. All right. Okay, so let me increase this. I think this is just fine. So take it down here. This. Okay, so let's reduce the size of free delivery within now. It's making it look kind of congested. Yeah. And let's just adjust this a bit. And we are done with this particular content development. So what next should we do? Let's group this together. G. And by doing that, just details. All right, so what's the next thing we should do? Let's make this look more interesting by coming down to page here. What's it? So let's take this here. So this just make it pop out. Wow, that's awesome. What next can we do? Let's see if there's something else we can do here. Okay, no, nothing much here, nothing much. Okay, let me come down to this place and see what we can do. Right. Okay, let's see if we have some photo filter that we can apply it. Let's see how this will look. Let's increase this to something 50%. I think this bring this design to life. Wow. So you can see how dramatic it is, but I think it's not looking nice by being on that image. So let me take it to the background. Yeah, so we have it here before and after. So I think this is just awesome. So thank you guys for watching. I believe you learned one or two things in this tutorial, and a very good recap on this particular tutorial is that whenever you're trying to design a flyer, always try as much as you can to try and give it depth in your design is very, very important, as it's going to make your design pop. Do you know, I spot something right now. Look at this delicious. It's not really sitting well. Sorry, so let's just come to the main text and come down to delicious here. Let's do something on it so that it's balanced well on this. Yeah, so let me take it like this so to make more sense. Yeah, so you can take this down like this. Yeah, so if I have this now, let me take it up a bit. Okay, so if this should be the case, let me rotate everything. Let me rotate everything and see how it's going to look like. Have it like this. I think it's just cool. So you can do anything of your choice. It's your choice. So Control A and this. So some people, as for beginner, you might not know how you are going to like export this. Just come down here and come down to export, then come to save for web. Once you click on save for web, set it to your quality maximum. I like maximum, so you can decide to set it to medium, anyhow it is. So once you put it on maximum, you click on OK, and I can just call this food poster and just save it on anywhere you want to save it. So this one is on desktop right now. I just click on OK and we are done with that. Now, a very quick recap, like I want to say before I say this. Always take time on your project. After you finish this particular design, still go back to it again and look at what can you change. Is it okay like this? It's not always okay in the first instance, but when you check it again, it's going to be okay. And I spot something here so that you get what I'm trying to say now. Let's see what will happen if I actually do this. Let me add layer marks on this and click on my brush to then brush some part of this off like this. Oh my god, guy, you can see this project look simple and unique now, and that's what it is. Just go and go back and go back again and check your project before you deliver to your clients. Thank you.